Viewer discretion is, know what? Fucking deal with it.
So we have here a spring. Well, actually we have two, but we're gonna focus on this one. So we have our lower bone and our upper bone, which is front, right, up, and front, right, down. That's how I code them to keep them set up right on the XML. As you can see here, front, right, up, and front, right, down. This I keep on front area, as you can see here. So how do we weight them, or how do I weight them? Really easy. Let's jump into my editor folder. Editors, editor, media, months. Oh wait, no, it's on third party. And I use the number paster by Tadu and Marine S95. So I'm gonna drop it right here. This spring is made on with a really quick way to make them. This is how it's made. So let's go back to the center and let's add a plane. You can see it's right here. Let's make them 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. That's 0.001. Oh wait, no, that's 1 millimeter. And 0.0001. Okay, now let's center our view, and here's our little square. Let's rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis, and let's offset it. Now let's jump into the modifiers tab and click on screw. Okay, oh wait, let's apply location and rotation. That's because it's on the center and not on a side. Let's apply rotation and scale also. And now you see these options. Let's change the steps to 10 because it's a spring and animations. When they're high poly, they cause lag on the game. And let's do the screw 2 centimeters up. You see where I'm going now. Okay, but first let's subdivide it and smooth it. And let's click on every single middle vertex. Let's do this and let's delete this one. And now it's a smooth cylinder. Why I don't use this one? Because you see it makes no difference. That's an issue with Blender, but it doesn't reflect on the game. So if this ain't no spring, it doesn't look like this one. Let's make it look like that one. Change the iterations, and you can do up to infinite actually. But yeah, I always do up to 7 or 9, depending on how long is the spring. And now we have a spring. If you want to make it longer, just change this volume and make it higher. Set it to 5 and you see why 5? Because every single iteration that hits this point is going to have 5 centimeters from the center to this way, to this point. Okay, now that we cover how to make a spring on a really fast way, let's cover up how to make the animations for the spring. So we have this spring. To see this view, this is weight 0 on Blender. Go to show weights. You see? I'll change this. Okay, now that I have my weight, I want to start adding weight to it. So we click on the number paster and we count every single one of these circles or loops. This brings past 91 from 0 to the top, which is 91. So I click 91 and I click on start. You see next space 0, 0, 0. That's because it's this volume. Okay, let's select this, look, and center the view to it and offset it a bit. Now we can see every single one of them. Remember what I said about low poly? Well, this is still counts as low poly because I have two, one is hidden, and I still only have 904 faces. So let's add our vertex groups or bones to be weighted. We have FRD, and FRU, which is this. It's already weighted. This is how it should look to the bone, to the upper bone. Red means 1 and blue means 0. Let's do the lower section. So first we're going to start from 0, which is the top, and this number paster I will be adding a link to my Google Drive so you can download it. It changes automatically by pressing Ctrl B. See, it starts changing, and if I go back I can do it all over again. So let's move it to this point and let's start adding weights. This pastes my weight with a comma. Blender doesn't accept commas. I must have to use dots. You see, it has a comma. So let's change that to a dot. Since this is already 0, I'm going to leave it like that and add another. I press Alt and left click, right click actually, to select this loop, since it is a non-divided loop. Okay, and I go to assign. You may not see a actual change on the colors, but that's because it's 0.0. So let's keep working on it. I can just click Ctrl B and apply the weight. Okay, once our bone is weighted, the first thing we're gonna make is export the truck. Now, how do we check our animations? Easy. First, go into the editor and click on the classes XML of the truck that you're animating after you did your code. The easiest way to make a code is this one. First, the model frame is your upper bone and your parent frame is your CDT. If you don't use a underscore CDT code for your CDTs, which is really just this, the same CDT but with a name and an underscore, point this to your empty reference, and the axis local is set to X. Y you will see in a few. The touch offset, I really don't touch this, but usually you should offset it on the Z axis and only centimeters. That's when your bone or your rest pose, once your truck is loaded on the game, is not where you want it to be. Your frame attached is your axle bone, in my case front right, because you will see for which truck is this made, but usually it's R for rear bone, and F for front bone is the axle bone, and your model frame, which is your lower bone. The IT joint, the axis local, is set to the axis that this bone points to the upper axis, to the upper bone. So you can see here, the lower bone points in the Z axis to the upper bone. So I want it to track on this direction in a slider way. Okay, you see, it rotates on the x-axis. So if I was to rotate it, it will rotate like this, and the other will slide up like this. So let's move to the editor. As you can see, we have a really complicated setup. This is a twin I-beam or TTI suspension, TTB suspension on a Ford F100. So how do I check my axis local for a mod? Click here, the I key tab. Remember what I said about you can do almost anything? Well, the whole front suspension animation on this truck, it's made with I keys. So remember, the axis local rotate on the X, and the lower follows on a slider way to the Z axis. It's this. See this yellow bar? This is the Z axis, and this is the X axis. So when the truck goes under the road, the upper bone will not rotate on this way, but more on this way. That way, when I go forward, the bone doesn't slide backwards, but when I turn around, it moves to the sides. It's not really noticeable unless you're going at high speeds. So let's drop the truck and see where it poses. See where it rests? It doesn't rest where I want it to be, but since this is a shot and it will be moving, it's not really noticeable. You see, this part should be a bit higher, but the rest of the bones rest on where they should be. Okay, now let's cause some trouble to troubleshoot them. Let's change the slider axis to a x-axis, and let's test it. Yes, I want to reload. Okay, now you see that my bone is not going down like this one. Once I drop it, it moves this way. Oh well, it actually didn't move, but okay, you see what I mean. It has no animation loading because it wants to move this way. And that's how you troubleshoot. You first see what it's supposed to do and what it does. Now let's change this to slider, and this one to hinge, and see what happens. I'm a fan of making new XMLs for every truck. Okay, let's see what happens. No animation at all. And what do I mean with that? Being a fan of making new animation for every truck. It means that this section, it's all different for every truck. That way I can work every truck with a new setup and test them. Okay, let's invert the bone, see what happens. I never do this type of stuff unless I have to record, so this is a new thing for me. Okay, see, the bone, it's inverted. So since the lower bone is now the hinge, and the lower bone is the hinge and the upper is the slider. Once I drop it, no animations, but it's connected to the lower bone, the front right axle bone. Interesting. What happens if, well, I could test this all night and just be amazed what changes, but you see what I mean. So let's recap. Bone creation. First, your axle, your spring, and how to make the bones. Easy. The number paster. You count the number of loops in your spring and add them as segments from 0 to the top, which is 92. Okay, once added, that's 29. Once added, always count from the 0, 0, 0, and start pasting all the way up. So once that is done, you export your model and you make your XML. I'm gonna leave also this a XML with this the automatic IP and how to set up the bone in a easy way. You can go more advanced, how I did for the track link, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 bones for one animation, which is this one. See? 0. This is 0, 1, 2, and 3. 4. Oh, 3. It's the fourth one. Well, anyway. Okay. Once that is set up, you go to your bone. You look how it looks in the loading screen, the loading of the truck, and then you hit play to see what changes. And this is how you troubleshoot the bone animation.